Sorry, I could not be closer to my router. I don't know why that happened.
Welcome back to Everybody's Movie Ever. My name is Jess, and this is Neil Cicierega here joining me today. We are going to be talking about Just in Case. I have found a movie, and by I have found a movie, I mean Max found a movie for me, as always, because Max is incredible. Thank you for being here, Neil and Max.
You're welcome.
What made you kind of interested in Just in Case? Why Just in Case?
I think a long time ago, I was considering, I should do a podcast. What could I do a podcast about? And the idea of like TV movies was something that I was thinking about specifically because so many of them are lost or just completely obscure. And I think I probably was looking at the list of like pre-DComs at some point, and Just in Case showed up, and the idea that it was George Carlin of all people playing a ghost seemed really interesting to me, and then I just couldn't find it anywhere. I could find very little info on it.
Yeah, I'm the same. Obviously, in a similar situation, I was doing this project, and when I got to Just in Case, I was like, George Carlin! I was so excited because who doesn't? My biggest George Carlin moment is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and his comedy, obviously. Otherwise, I hadn't seen really any other movies with him. So when I saw he was in a random Disney television release, I was so excited, and then obviously disappointed when I couldn't find it. And then here comes Max to save the day. So for me, I think I want to start with the visuals. For a 1988 television release, I really think this film has a ton of movement. There's lots of like spanning shots, lots of shots following the actors. And I thought that was all really wonderful. And then I also was so impressed by all the visual gags of the actual like ghost part of it, where like he's lifting Jenny or the neighbor or whatever, and then you see it without him in it. I thought all of those were really great. Or the cigar by itself or anything like that, I thought was great, especially for 1988. Do you have any notes on like the cinematography or the movement or visual effects? I know
yeah, it was, it was kind of your typical like kind of muted color 80s TV experience, but yeah, the director's Blake Edwards, who had done a lot of stuff, and he was not a amateur or anything. He was not really like not a hack at all. He was just a pretty established dude, and this was supposed to be a pilot. Like they wanted to make a series out of it, and I guess we'll get to the ending, but the ending really feels like it doesn't wrap anything up. But yeah, it had some oomph, and like the special effects stuff, yeah, there was just enough of it, and it was pretty decent for it was just doing like Invisible Man gags,
right. Yeah, I would agree. I also agree that it was setting up for a TV show. It's very obvious that it's supposed to be like a pilot movie, and I'm slightly disappointed that we never got the show.
Yeah,
because I thought it was fun. I thought the whole like gags of it was a fun time. The music, I thought the theme was so fun.
Yeah,
I loved it.
My eyebrows went up when I saw Henry Mancini credited. He's done plenty of famous stuff.
Yeah.
And the I think probably the best version of the theme is over the end credits. It adds a bunch of like cool saxophones and stuff.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I thought they also used they didn't like blanket the whole movie with the music. They chose their opportunity for the music and their opportunity for no music, which I thought was nice. There was a huge chunk for a while where I went, there hasn't been music for a really long time, which was kind of crazy. And then it started right after I thought that, which I thought was hysterical.
Yeah, no, it's not trying to be like a cinematic experience. It's a great, not a great, but it's like that like very middle of the road comfort level of TV, I think. were you expecting going into this?
You know, I had only seen the one clip that was like available on YouTube back when I had researched this, and it was, I think that clip was Jenny and Justin meeting for the first time when she finds, you know, his body in his office. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, I feel like it's just going to be like, I think in that moment I thought George Carlin was probably going to carry the movie, which I don't necessarily think is a bad guess.
Yeah.
But I kind of was probably expecting it to be middle of the road, like not, you know, super amazing. But definitely not like the worst television release I've ever watched for sure. And I think it exceeded my expectations a little bit. Like I was entertained throughout the film, which sometimes is hard when it's a television release like this. But I think George has such an incredible ability to just make everything seem the most believable and natural that he says.
Yeah, I was thinking watching it. You mentioned Bill and Ted earlier, and now that was probably one of my earliest exposures to him, and Shining Time Station, where he was the conductor on that. And both roles are like kid-friendly, like insanely comforting
Yes.
uses of George Carlin. So I just, because this is like him at that same exact age, before he kind of like leaned into like the ranting guy on stage. I don't know that he got more famous for in the 90s. Yeah, it was just like, oh man, what a cuddly detective we got going in this series.
I totally agree. I think I was surprised because, you know, my two experiences were Bill and Ted and his comedy. So it's like I've got comforting Rufus on one side, and then I've got George Carlin's like brutal, you know, comedy on the other. And I'm like, to me, he's a good actor because he just came in and was this like such believable nice guy.
Yeah.
Stage, you know.
He always, or rather, Jonathan Banks always reminds me of him a little bit. Like Mike on Breaking Bad and stuff. He's got that also kind of like tired detective sound to him. And they were both working around the same time in the late 80s. I think Jonathan Banks was on a show called I'm blanking on it, but around the same time, and he was also kind of like a cynical guy. And I don't know, going into this, my reference points were probably Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Beetlejuice. I kind of thought like it's possible this is somewhere in between those, but like with way less energy.
Sure.
But no, they didn't really go into like the spirit world much.
Yeah.
It's really just kind of like actors in a room for most of the movie.
Yes, absolutely. It definitely does not lean into the fantastical side of it very much at all. Yeah.
I think, actually it made me laugh like when he is first introduced as a ghost. I think, hang on, I wrote it down in my notes here. I need to see what his first line is. Oh, it's just, I'm dead.
Yeah. He says that a lot in that first scene.
Yeah.
But again, it's just his whole delivery in that first scene where, you know, he's like, he just makes it so like you're not scared because you're like, he doesn't know what's happening, but he has to conclude that he's dead. But I did think it was interesting. This is very random. I thought it was interesting that Jenny was more afraid of him standing there as a ghost, which I guess, than a man she doesn't know offering for her to come live with him.
All right. Well, let's talk about Molly Hagan. I thought like when it was first following her, I was just like, I was kind of hoping George Carlin would be like the main character of this. Sure. Who is this girl? But she is actually like super charming in this, I thought.
Yes, I agree.
She's really funny. And I looked up her IMDb. There's probably stuff anyone would know her from, but she never really got super famous. But she's been acting constantly since this came out.
Yes.
And but when she faints, and she meets this EMT. It's an EMT meet cute.
Yes.
And he basically says like, "Hey, I'm an EMT. We're reputable. Come stay at my house," because she's got rent problems. And then, but I'll tell you this. I went from thinking, oh, this is like a naive romance, to oh, this is her gay buddy. Like, this is they were probably just saving the romantic stuff, the romantic tension, for later in the series. But it comes off as like a totally platonic friendship, roommate 100%. Situation. And I looked it up, and the actor is like openly gay, and like,
amazing!
He's like a big Broadway guy since this was like one of his first things he did, and then he was in Into the Woods and a bunch of other stuff. So my gaydar was functioning.
Great. When he's like, "I'll pay it, or you come stay with me," I was like, no, not today. If someone did that, I'd be like, "You're a serial killer. What are you talking about? Why are you just offering for this stranger to come live with you?"
She's in a hospital. She's in a hospital bed. He's
right, and he just starts eating her food. I was like, what's happening? You guys don't know each other.
Yeah, he's eating her hospital food with her, like they're old friends.
And I genuinely was like, okay, he's either like they're just jumping right into this, or he is a serial killer and is trying to take advantage of her.
Yeah, he just walks into her room. He's like, "I told your doctor that I'm your boyfriend so I could come in to meet you."
Right, and I couldn't deal with that. I was like, this is more horrifying than the ghost. Like, I would have been like, "Excuse me, who are you? Thank you for saving me, but also what?"
No, I mean, he's supernaturally chivalrous. Yeah, I was entertained by like the ghost stuff, and not so much by the central mystery. The actual like criminals they were investigating, I kind of just got lost on that stuff, because so much of it is exposition, them just kind of talking about like, oh, this guy did this, and characters who are not seen until kind of the end of the movie are talked about a lot.
I actually totally agree. I found myself at the end of the movie being like, I don't even know what the crime was. Like, I was like, I know someone hired someone to murder a bunch of people, but I was so focused on like the ghosts exist stuff and like, all that and for me, I found that like I still had fun. Like, I still enjoyed the movie, even though the crime aspect of it, I was like, okay, sure, it's not the greatest mystery for a detective to solve, because it pretty much solved itself. Like, we knew the lady in black from the beginning was probably the lady that killed him. Like,
yeah.
So I would totally agree that the crime aspect, especially because it's like the last, 10 minutes is when we see that whole like confrontation with all the people.
Yeah, but it's very goofy and slapstick, and I wasn't bored by it at any point, even if I wasn't necessarily like fully understanding what the story was. Pretty much all the side characters in this were just goofballs, and like,
yeah, you mentioned Molly Hagan being charming. Something that I really loved as like a cute little choice for hers was every time she was like trying to be a detective, she turned on an accent of some kind.
Yeah, very silly.
Which I was hilarious to me, especially when he was like, no, like Bogart, and then she just slips into Humphrey Bogart, and Molly Hagan, way to go.
Yeah, she knew what she was in. Yeah. There's so much fainting in this movie.
There's so much fainting in this movie.
Yeah, Molly Hagan faints a bunch. He faints. Some of the cops faint. Everybody faints. Oh, and there's a taxi driver who doesn't faint, but he keeps crashing his taxi. There's one point where she after the bomb explodes, she dials 911, but it takes her like a moment to remember 911. There's a lot of like pretty subtle acting stuff in it that that made this pretty entertaining to pay attention to.
Yeah. The like random shots throughout the movie of the blonde lady in this like all black outfit were so random for me. But
Yeah.
also like I feel like they were used specifically to just like, oh, as a reminder there's a crime. As a reminder, between all these like cops and visual gags, there's a crime and this lady is involved in it.
There's intrigue. I think they should have played the Pink Panther theme by Henry Mancini whenever she was on camera, just to like play that up. But it kind of went nowhere. There's the final like confrontation where she's got the gun aimed at the two guys, Sneaker and something. I don't know.
Schlinker, I think.
Schlinker, yeah. There's a funny gag where the guy he's talking to puts his hands up and then Schlinker's just like, yeah, high five. Anyway, so then like the movie ends and it kind of ends on a bummer note for George Carlin because he's just like, I can't feel anything, and eating and hanging out with you is just gonna make me sad, so I'm still figuring out how to be a ghost, and see you next episode. I would recommend it. It's on Max's YouTube channel. Finally you can watch it, and I would not watch it again, but if there were more episodes, I would have keep watching it for at least a few more episodes, because it's George Carlin and Molly Hagan is great, and I really liked all of the cast, really.
Yeah.
It had a nice, it felt like a comfortable, especially for an 80s comedy. It was not obnoxious the way 80s comedies can be. It was not particularly sexist or anything. It was just an easy watch in this day and age.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if I'd watch it again. I think if like someone I was with wanted to watch it, I'd be like, yeah, all right, I'll sit down and watch it. But of my own, like, I feel like watching just in case, I don't know if I'd do that.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But I mean, it's an hour and 10 minutes. It's good.
And but I do agree. I would have definitely, like, if they made like a sequel or second episode or third, episodes, I probably would have also kept watching it again. George Carlin, how do you not?
George Carlin,
like a ghost detective. What's not to like?
Because this is one of those movies that is like a bit ungoogleable. You end up finding the same info over and over. I actually I have a newspapers.com subscription, and I kind of looked up some of the press for this movie from when it came out, and it actually had like recurring articles and interviews and stuff, and some reviews, and I don't think anyone was super impressed by it when it came out, but like George Carlin was like doing shows and stuff, and there was some of him talking about how he was just like he felt like kind of stalled in his career, and this is why he was looking to be in more acting roles at the time. And I think it's pretty interesting that he signed on for this pilot, probably knowing that it could turn into a series and it could be like his big recurring TV role. And
I'm sure. That's cool.
I think that would have been a cool move for him, I think, to be a lovable TV ghost for a little while.
I think that would have been so fun. Okay, so I typically do a rating out of 10, and we always pick like a random like thing that has to do with the movie. So in this case we could do like ghosts or goat cheese salads.
I'd say 10 ghost cheese salads out of 10. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah, what would you rate it out of 10, you think?
Out of 10, I think it's like it's hard. I'd give it a 6.
Yeah,
but a 6, because I don't want to. It's like it's the most middle of the road thing, but it's so inoffensive and easy to watch, and like it did make me smile. So I would put it over the 50%. I'd give it a pass.
Sweet, love that. I tried to put myself back in my like 1980s watching of Disney television movies brain, because if I compared it to what I'm watching now, it probably would have gotten a worse score. So I am going to give it 7 ghost cheese salads out of 10. And then the original movie count number for this is 276. So it was number 276. So if you look way back when, because now I'm on 600 something.
Oh wow.
So that's really exciting. And then the movie did not change our parent death toll or our cry count, which is exciting.
Just Google my name or Lemon Demon. I'm all over the internet. I would say check me out on Twitter, but Twitter is in disarray currently. So, but I'm not hard to find. And you know, my band Lemon Demon is putting out re-releases of some of my old albums right now. So go check that out on needlejuice.com.
Amazing. I love
Yeah.
it. Thank you so much for coming to talk about Just in Case. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Max, for bringing Brady and just being amazing. And you guys know where to follow me and join all the things, join Patreon, all that good stuff. And until next time, as usual, don't be don't be the lady, the blonde lady in the black about it, I'd say.
Yeah.
It was definitely probably the worst because she was killing people.
Oh, just in case. I get it now.
Oh, just in case.